The American middle class is vanishing and most people just noticed. What you are about to hear is not an exaggeration and it is not a theory. It is a reality that millions of families across the United States are living every single day. For decades, the middle class was considered the backbone of America, the group that worked hard, paid taxes, owned homes, raised families, and believed that tomorrow would be better than today. But now something has changed and people are finally starting to feel it in their daily lives. For a long time, many Americans believed that if you worked full-time, followed the rules, and stayed out of trouble, you would be able to live comfortably, not rich but stable, enough to afford a home, decent healthcare, education for your children, and maybe even a small vacation once a year. That promise is now slipping away quietly and steadily. You don't see it happen overnight. It happens slowly through higher grocery bills, rising rent, medical costs, unexpected expenses, and salaries that never seem to catch up. People wake up one day and realize that despite doing everything right, they are still struggling to stay afloat. That moment of realization is spreading across the country, and it is shocking. The disappearance of the middle class is not caused by one single event. It is the result of years of pressure building from all directions. Wages have stayed almost the same while the cost of living has exploded. Housing prices have reached levels that many families can no longer afford. Student loan debt has trapped entire generations, and healthcare expenses continue to rise without warning. Families that once felt secure are now living paycheck to paycheck, not because they are irresponsible, but because the system around them has changed. A single emergency, a car repair, a medical bill, or a short period of unemployment is enough to push a middle-class household into financial stress or even debt. One of the most painful parts of this crisis is how invisible it can be from the outside. People still go to work, still smile, still try to maintain normal life, but behind closed doors they are making impossible choices, choosing which bills to pay, delaying medical care, skipping vacations, cutting back on food, and living with constant anxiety about money. Young adults feel this pressure even more strongly. Many of them work full-time or multiple jobs yet cannot afford to buy a home, something that was once considered a basic milestone of adulthood. Rent takes up a massive portion of income, leaving little room for savings or investment. As a result, many feel stuck, unable to move forward despite working harder than previous generations. Parents worry about their children's future, education costs, childcare expenses, and whether they will ever be able to pass on the same opportunities they once had. Retirement, which used to represent security and rest, now feels like an impossible dream for millions who fear they will have to work well into old age just to survive. Another reason this story is so powerful is because it affects people across political and social lines. It does not matter where you live, who you vote for, or what industry you work in. The pressure is everywhere. Teachers, nurses, office workers, technicians, small business owners all feel the same squeeze. Technology and globalization have also played a role. Many stable middle-class jobs have been replaced by automation, outsourcing, or short-term contract work. Benefits are reduced, job security is weaker, and workers are expected to do more for less. While productivity has increased, wages have not followed at the same pace, creating a widening gap between effort and reward. At the same time, the cost of essentials has surged. Housing, healthcare, education, transportation, and food now take up a much larger share of household income than they did in the past. This leaves families with little margin for error and constant stress about the future. What makes this even more shocking is that for years many people were told that the economy was doing well, stock markets were up, corporate profits were strong, and unemployment numbers looked positive. But these indicators often fail to reflect the lived experience of the average family who feels poorer despite working harder. The truth is that economic growth does not automatically mean financial security for everyone. Wealth has become increasingly concentrated while the middle class shrinks, caught between rising costs and stagnant incomes. This gap creates frustration, anger, and a sense of betrayal among people who believed in the system. As more Americans begin to realize what is happening, conversations are changing. People are asking difficult questions about fairness, opportunity, and the future. They are questioning whether hard work alone is still enough and whether the traditional path to success still exists. The emotional impact of this realization is deep. Many feel ashamed to talk about money struggles because on paper they appear successful. They have jobs, degrees, and responsibilities, yet they feel constantly behind. This silent struggle has taken a toll on mental health, relationships, and overall well-being. Communities are also feeling the effects. Local businesses struggle as consumers cut back. Schools and public services face pressure as tax bases change, and entire neighborhoods feel the weight of economic stress. The disappearance of the middle class is not just a personal issue, it is a societal one. Experts warn that if this trend continues, the long-term consequences could be serious. A shrinking middle class can lead to reduced economic stability, lower consumer spending, increased inequality, and social tension. Historically strong middle classes have been essential for stable democracies and healthy economies. What makes this moment different is that awareness is growing. People are finally realizing that their struggles are not isolated personal failures, but part of a larger structural shift. This awareness is the first step toward meaningful conversation and potential change. Some are responding by changing careers, downsizing, relocating, or seeking opportunities outside traditional paths. Others are advocating for policy changes, better wages, affordable healthcare, housing reform, and education access. While solutions are complex, the conversation itself is gaining momentum. This story resonates because it reflects real life. It is not about extreme poverty or extreme wealth, it is about the quiet erosion of stability that millions once relied on. It is about parents worrying about the future, young people losing hope, and hardworking individuals feeling left behind. The disappearance of the middle class is one of the most important stories of our time because it affects nearly everyone directly or indirectly. Understanding why it is happening helps explain rising frustration, changing attitudes, and the growing demand for reform across the country. As you listen to this story, think about your own experiences, the rising costs, the financial pressure, the sense that something has changed. These feelings are not imagined, they are shared by millions. The American middle class is vanishing, and people are finally realizing why. This realization is uncomfortable, emotional, and unsettling, but it is also necessary. Only by acknowledging the problem can meaningful solutions begin to take shape. This is not the end of the story, it is the beginning of a deeper conversation about what kind of future America is building and who it is being built for. The choices made now will determine whether the middle class can recover or whether this trend will continue reshaping the country for generations to come. The signs are everywhere, and they can no longer be ignored. What was once considered normal financial stability now feels out of reach for many. The middle class is disappearing, and the impact is being felt in homes, workplaces, and communities across the United States. This is the reality many are living with today, and understanding it is the first step toward change.